So it's a great honor and pleasure to be joining the CIHS community, to be invited to speak on this very auspicious occasion. I know you've traveled a long way to come to this place. You know, education, as Sharon was saying, is inherently an inner journey through which we traverse the world, right? Not in miles, but as the poet Wendell Berry said, just by this spiritual journey, this journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our feet and learn to be at home. And since I am a Zen person, and I do believe wholeheartedly that the theory comes out of the experience, I'm going to invite us for a moment just to reflect on our benefactors. All of those people who from the very beginning of our lives have carried a wish for our well-being, have made this journey possible, because not one of us has done the journey alone. So just envisioning them, all of them. They don't need to have been Mother Teresa, just trusting that wish for our well-being. Our parents and our grandparents, our brothers and our sisters, our teachers and friends, seeing them now before us, envisioning their bright faces, those who are gathered here, those who are far away, and feeling that wish for our well-being like a golden light streaming forth from them, filling our heart and filling every cell of our body, all the way down through our fingers and toes. And if in that community you include Dr. Motoyama, Dean Umansky, it might be nice. Just envisioning that, feeling that, trusting their wish for your well-being more than any self-limiting thought, fully taking it in, calling it in. Basking in that light like a puppy in sunlight. Basking in this. Resting in this. And just as they wished for us, sending that out to all beings, you know, in the joy we have today, may all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings experience the joy of being alive. May all beings have deep and natural peace. May they awaken. May we together awaken. May we be free. So those of you here have all had some experience of looking up at the night sky and seeing the presence of stars. And when we see the stars, isn't it a miracle actually that our eye contains the entire night sky? In our Zen tradition, Zen Master Dogen expressed this with a beautiful simile. The moon is reflected even in a dewdrop of water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken. Although its light is wide and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle, an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in dewdrops on the grass, or even in one drop of water. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. So through this image, we intuitively understand the part is a manifestation of the whole. Scientifically, we apprehend this vision through the microcosm of a single cell, which includes all of the DNA of the organism. Right? As inward, so outward. As outward, so inward. And just as each cell is bringing about the entire body, our institutions are reflected in us, and they are a reflection of us. We are all in this together. We're evolving together. So therefore, as we step forth into the world, these ways of seeing that we've worked through here, that we've developed here, have the potential to awaken the living systems of our institutions, those related to the helping professions, but also our social and our political institutions, right? In the past, our understandings of reality were based on a philosophy of science shaped during the Newtonian era, a period that favored a more atomistic view, which then supported an atomistic view of the human condition and a competitive, individualistic understanding of the self. Now, through breakthroughs in science, we understand that every particle is in relationship with an interdependent whole. The moment has come for our social institutions to reflect this reality. Living systems such as cells, trees, human beings, forests, and societies are not parts to be assembled. They function as a whole, and they continually recreate themselves. But how they do this depends on the individual and collective level of awareness. How our institutions evolve is up to us. In order to do that outer work, to evolve our institutions, we have to do the inner work, cultivating presence, insight, compassion. This is essential in order to pass to the next 7 generations an earth worth living on. As we travel that arduous and joyful and humbling distance between the mind and the heart, we shift into an ecosystem awareness of each other. You could feel that when we were doing our reflection on benefactors. That quality is tangible. So as we shift into this awareness, we move from I to we. This is the journey of our generation. This is our shared evolution. When we walk through a forest, it's actually very tangible, right? We can feel that presence of the trees. And we recognize that presence and that beauty because we are that. We are nature. Among trees who are yet a different species in the forest, we know now that there is a subtle communication going on through the roots. And so just in that very same way, we are all connected at the roots. In order to reawaken our institutions, we need to return to nature as that source of inspiration. We need to reclaim that power, that quality of presence found among the trees. So perhaps it depends upon presence. That quality of deep listening, of a connected knowing, working from a place of wholeness. and staying open and curious beyond our preconceptions. As the poet David Whyte has asked, what if our identities aren't based on conventional wisdom or received ideas or opinions, but on that quality of attention we bring to the world around us? No one else can see the world, hear the world, love the world in the way that you can or that I can. Our true nature comes to the fore by paying deep attention. So through that quality of attention, we're then able to make choices that serve the evolution of life, and we consciously participate in a larger field for transformative change. I experienced this directly through my teacher, Mahagosananda, who was the Dalai Lama of Cambodia. He brought peace to his country step by step through the practice of presence, achieved through the Dharma Yatra, a walking meditation held each year. At the risk of his own life, he chose to practice in the temples of human experience, the minefields, the refugee camps, the forests that were being deforested, wherever that message of peace and reconciliation was most needed. He received many humanitarian awards and was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 7 times. In 1998, I was honored to accompany him on one of these walking meditations, held right before Cambodia's first free elections. Our route was chosen through the provinces of Takeo and Kampot due to expectations of violence. Tension between the government and opposition parties had risen. There were some deaths reported, and people had begun to stockpile food against the possibility of violence in the streets. And so our response was simply this walking meditation, beginning every morning quite early. And interspersed throughout these lines of people doing mindful walking meditation, there were banners, simply making the message more explicit. A peaceful heart makes a peaceful person. A peaceful person makes a peaceful family. A peaceful family makes a peaceful community. A peaceful community makes a peaceful nation. And a peaceful nation makes a peaceful world. So this experience of hundreds of people walking in mindfulness and kindness made it possible for villagers to envision the end of their own tension and anger and let go. You know, it presented a different possibility. People who were working for the government and people who were working for the opposition party were neighbors, and they knelt as neighbors, praying intensely as the walk moved by. As the week went on, our walking fell into a deep rhythm, which we could call just doing it. You know, moving from a place of presence, responding with action that came spontaneously out of the whole. On the very last day of the walk, as we began walking, it was 4 a.m. and the sky was completely dark. I thought, surely no one is going to be by the side of the road this time. As we walked out through the temple gate onto the road, there were points of light scattered along our path. The candles of people who had gotten up early to kneel by the side of the road with water and incense in prayer. It was the climate of something being born. So as the day processed, 3,000 people joined us for the walk through Phnom Penh. The chanting of the walk rose strong in the city air. 2 days after the walk was completed, elections were held without the disruptive violence so widely expected. Over 90% of registered voters turned out to select a future for Cambodia. To have 90% turnout in this country would be some sort of catalytic miracle for sure. So the government didn't dissolve in violence. Yes, it still has a long way to go, yet by working continuously to embody peace and to teach reconciliation, it really affirmed our capacity to build peace step by step. So that quality of presence, we could say, has two parts. First, bringing a quality of attention to our lives, we find that space in between our thoughts. We begin to identify more with that quality of attentiveness. From that, we have more freedom inside. We step into a more generative awareness. Suzuki Roshi called this beginner's mind. The mind open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are infinite possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. So then, the second part is through this, as we see through the illusion of separateness to the truth of our connection, action arises spontaneously from that place of wholeness. It's a fact, right, that our problems of global stability, climate change, socioeconomic change, these don't just need technical solutions. Technical solutions exist, but they require from us a shift, a change of consciousness. You know, as Albert Einstein noted, the discovery of the atom bomb changed everything except our way of thinking, right? So that great epiphany that saves our planet needs to be an internal one. To change the world, we need to change our mind. We need to integrate our mind and our heart. And as we develop that ecological awareness, that wise heart, we develop the capacity to actively appreciate difference. Just as the cells of the body are many yet one, and support each other through their diversity, just as the diversity of the forest makes the forest culture more resilient, in this very same way, our human lives and institutions need that diversity to be resilient. That principle of strength through diversity can help to illuminate our shared journey. As I look around the room and I consider the dissertation work, the studies that have brought you all here, it's clear that each of you has a particular seed of genius. Each of you has your own way of blossoming, which the world sorely needs. Each of these ways will bear fruit and will nourish our future. So I would really just encourage you to honor that seed through presence. And coming from that place of presence, from our connected knowing, our heart-mind, we're then able to connect with that wholeness around us. We're one with our life. We're one with our deepest prayer. And that energy that is received through the experience of oneness, through connecting with nature, through everything that awakens our heart, it's like sap running through the tree. It's transformed. Each of us becomes that golden fruit upon the tree of life we're intended to become. So I with all my heart and mind, I encourage you to honor your creative gifts. That's our partnership with life. That's creating our world, and through that ripening, all beings are nourished. Then we may use our unique gifts to respond spontaneously, as Mahaghosananda did, to awaken the living systems of institutions. It's clear when we look at our social, environmental, economic systems, we can't do business as usual. But what if at this time what we can do is to invest in social capital, natural capital, rebuilding living systems, reweaving living systems. What if in the midst of this challenging time, we help people to reconnect to themselves and to others in nourishing ways? Even responding collectively to the refugee crisis by taking that evolutionary journey we're called to take, finding life in diversity and reaching out. Wherever we are, changing our institutions at work by seeing our colleagues in their wholeness, seeing each person as the unique person they are in the eyes of the divine, and making contact from this place. Perhaps, then, even moments of tension can be a source of revelation. We have a story, a collective dream we were mired in, which decrees that humans are separate from each other, competing with each other. But there are other storylines. We have options. We know more than we realize about how to overcome that story of separation. Consider when you've resolved a conflict in your home, your school, your workplace. Think of those moments when you've seen beyond duality to recognize that we're more deeply connected than we know. Once Bishop Tutu was asked, how is it that South Africa avoided a race war? Bishop Tutu replied, there were tens of thousands of people who were carriers of the light. So each of us has that immense power to be a carrier of the light, to awaken ourselves, to evolve our institutions, and to transform our world. Right, the key is just to bring that presence to the people, through our own path of service, anchoring it in the here and the now. This could be as simple as an extension of kindness while we're driving our cars on the 405, or it could be huge, right? Like that giving pledge, the pledge that Warren Buffett and Bill Gates made to give away half their wealth in service to society. Right, moved by their example, the CEO of Chobani Yogurt donated $700 million this month to aid refugees. But you don't need to be rich in wealth. Each of us is rich in our own inner resources. And as we do this work of presence and intention, we are those carriers of the light. We become a servant of the whole. And as we participate more consciously in dialogue with the universe, we're united with millions of others. Just as your journey here was not undertaken alone, so your journey forward is accompanied by many of like heart. When a caterpillar reaches a certain point in its evolution, it becomes overconsumptive. It eats everything in sight. And at that same time, within the caterpillar, there are these imaginal cells that wake up, and they look for each other inside of the caterpillar. They become the genetic directors of the future of the caterpillar. The caterpillar's body dissolves in what's called the nutritive soup, and then out of this comes the absolutely unpredictable miracle of the butterfly. So perhaps we're the imaginal cells, right, in our communities, in our planet right now. For a butterfly, that moment of transformation must be really disconcerting, right? But yet it's the beginning of something new. Our society is in such a place now. We're called to open our hearts and to recognize our shared humanity by that refugee crisis. The inequities in our society are another form of earthquake, and we've been feeling those tremors for a long time. As the poet Theodore Roki said, in a dark time, the eye begins to see. So to see in the dark to see in this place of becoming. We need to see with the eyes of our hearts, bringing presence together with our intention of service. We serve as these imaginal selves. We create new possibilities for our own lives and for our world. In this way, we are the Great Awakening. We are the gathering light. We are the coming dawn. Whatever light we carry is already affecting countless others. So just carry it forward, only continue, right? Step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. And in this way, this butterfly emerges. So it is that in this room, the future is created now. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing in support of our shared evolution. And once again, congratulations, class of 2015.